Hi, I'm Rob, and today we're at the View Bar in Southampton. So here we are, the View Bar. It's a 1930s Art Deco building. It was originally the pavilion for the sports centre in Southampton. Then it became the pub in the park, then the Sporting View, and that was run by an ex-Saints player actually, Ruben Agboola, in the 1990s. I think he was a defender or something. And now it is the View Bar. And so it's a lovely Art Deco building. Typical mid-30s. See those lovely lines, that curve. I'm particularly fond of Art Deco design. A bit like an ocean liner, the way the curves go there. Sort of reminiscent of the Queen Mary or the Normandy in particular. Anyway, that's where I had that lovely mill. Which I'll show you more of later. And there's a nice view. This is what's called the View Bar. It looks down over Southampton Sports Centre. So back up to the top of the hill, and there's a commemorative plaque there which tells you just about everything I wanted to tell you about the sports centre. So anyway, we're going to walk off down the hill into the sports centre. So we're just following the road and this path down. It's a nice easy walk to follow. It's like one straight road for most of it. So the sports centre, or Happy Valley as it's known locally, was conceived by an ex-mayor of Southampton, 2 times mayor of Southampton, Sir Sidney Kimber, in the 1930s. And the 1930s was very different to today. In terms of public service was just that, public service. It wasn't about budgets, it was about providing facilities for the inhabitants of towns and cities. And Sir Sidney Kimber was no exception to this, and he wanted a sports centre for the use of all, and he lobbied and lobbied until he finally got it. It was opened in 1938 on the 28th of May by the Duke and Duchess of Kent. It's 268 acres of what was Willis Fleming land, who was the owner of the North Stoneham estate. Now, during World War II it played a vital part in D-Day, in that it was the food provisioning camp. So a lot of sports teams call Southampton Sports Centre their home. My daughter used to run for Southampton Athletics Club and Team Solent, so I know this stand very well. Many a time I'd be sat up there watching her race. So there's a very good coach here at one time as well, Mike Smith, who used to coach on this very track. And his prodigies were Roger Black and Ewan Thomas, to name a couple. And still today there are people out there training. It's a great place for a family day here. There's a boating lake. There's no water in it at the moment. Perhaps we're a little bit early. I don't know. But there's also a lovely little child's play park up here. As I say, we're just following this road all the way through. So hidden up in the corner, and it's been here years. I used to ride on some of these rides, I'm sure. What else would you do with an old Dodgem car? As I say, great place to bring the kids. Younger kids, that is, I think. Sort of under 10s it's perfect for. Anyway, carrying up the track. Swing boats. I used to love the swing boats. Those are definitely the same ones, I'm sure they are. So they have the ski slope in the trees there, that's always a good watch too. But now we start to leave the formal sports centre behind, and we wander out across the municipal golf course. What a shame about these, someone would pay a fortune to live in those. And that's a Southampton City badge. It used to be shared by the football club in years gone by, but during the 70s they adopted the one that you see these days. Now in the way on your left there's a memorial, and it's to the police horse Warrior. He died on 22nd of August 1935. He was a police horse, yes, but he was also a veteran on the advance on the River Aime in World War One. They thought he needed commemorating, so the 4th Southampton West Girl Guides offered to take care of the grave, and the offer was willingly accepted by the Sports Centre Committee. Whether they still look after the grave I don't know, but someone does it quite well. So it's quite beautiful, the countryside here. And there's the clubhouse of the golf course just there. It all dates from the 1930s. The Warrior Memorial was erected in 1936. And as I say, this is all part of the Sports Centre, which the foresighted twice Mayor of Southampton put together, and what an asset. What a legacy he's left for the city. So you can stop for refreshments at the golf course if you like, and do a nice coffee or whatever. Nice place to sit, with a lovely view. But anyway, we walk on, and you come off the road at this point. You don't go through there or into the car park, but there's a little gravel track by the side, and we're going to follow the gravel track along through the trees. That path leads you on into the first little bit of woodland. And don't go straight on, go to the left. Alongside this fence. Now pretty soon you come out of the woods, and the path eventually leads you up onto a road of very expensive, very large houses. So walk around the roundabout and take to the pavement. So the name of the roads in this area is the Chilworth Ring that you first enter on. This is Hadrian Way, and then over there we've got Roman Drive. Now Roman Drive, I believe, is where my all-time hero Roger Moore lived in the late 60s with his wife Dorothy Squires. Of course, Roger Moore was the best 007 ever, and I'll have no argument about that. But anyway, they lived around here, and neighbours somewhere in this region, don't know where, were the Chipperfield family that owned Chipperfield Circus. But we continue to walk along Hadrian Way. Now, when I was a boy, I lived in an end terrace of a council house in a block about that big. And I suppose I must have been 8, maybe 9, and I went for a walk with a friend round the corner, a little bit older than me, Paul Bonsfield. Hello Paul, if you're still about. And we wandered through the woods easterly through the North Stoneham Woods, out across where the motorway is now, which of course wasn't then. And we emerged from the woods into a wonderful childhood paradise. It was a beautiful park with tennis courts and lovely short grass. And we thought, wow, look what we found. Anyway, somebody came out, shouted oi, Paul took off in one direction, I took off in the other direction, and we never found each other again. It turns out this beautiful paradise of a park to a couple of council house boys was actually someone's back garden. Unbelievable. This is so far removed from where I was brought up. Anyway, it's quite a few miles from home, as you can imagine. So I took to the road, and luckily I was one of those children that was always staring out the back window of the car, so I soon recognised roughly where I was and managed to get myself home. I assume Paul was the same, because I know he's still about. Anyway, nice to see these big houses. Lovely, all individually designed. A bit too big for me and my wife though. Well, that's a nice little house. Anyway, the bane of the people's lives here must be this motorway. So up until the mid-70s this would have been woodland, and these houses would have been in a very, very peaceful, out of the way location. But then, as I say, mid-70s, M27 motorways were being planned all over the country. Because believe it or not, before the mid-70s there weren't that many. M1 and M6 and M5 I can think of. But anyway, they really took off in the 70s, and the M27 was built. Good thing too, because you wouldn't get all that traffic on the existing roads, but it does make for a very noisy area now. So we continue, and where it becomes a rat. Have you spotted that? A rat scurrying in the bushes? Who would have thought they lived here? Anyway, where it reaches Heatherlands Road, you'll see some signs, little finger posts, for a restricted byway. And we're going to follow our way down this gravel track. And this time we're passing under the M3. And this is where the M3 joins the M27 eventually. Or if you're coming the other way from the West Country, it's where you split off to go up to London. It's what we locals call Kirkcaldy Junction. Endless pine in this wood. Not many native species, although pine have been around for generations, and in the Ice Age, so how you determine a native species I don't really know. But trees being trees, if you've got broadleaf trees, usually the floor is, the woodland floor that is more fertile, so you get more wild flowers. If you look in a plantation like this, you won't see a great deal of wild flowers. You might see a few on the sort of edges of the woods, but other than that they're quite barren. But you go into a native ancient woodland and they're bound with flowers, bluebells and celandine, wood anemone, stitchwort, that sort of thing. And there's the recreation ground in Chilworth there. Just so you know you're on the right route. Well, as I say, you can't go wrong. It's like one path all the way through. Quite an easy walk to follow, but of course there will be a map with the YouTube description. There you go, there's some violets at the woodland edge. And the ever invasive, but very pretty, rhododendron. And then we emerge out onto another road. And we turn left. Once again, some very large houses flanking the road. And the road once again bends round to the left, Chilworth Drove. And we shall be walking down there. Interestingly, what's right in front of you, and slightly to the side, is the Chilworth Research Park, and that's got quite a lot of high-tech industry in there, and it's built on the grounds of the old Chilworth Manor. Now, Chilworth Manor was the house that Willis Fleming decided he preferred rather than the house over at North Stoneham on my middle walk. The house at North Stoneham, of course, is gone, but Willis Fleming's Chilworth Manor, it still survives, and it's the Chilworth Manor Hotel now. Very pleasant working environment, nice pond and some benches, and the building over there used to be Ferring Research, which is one of my customers, so I've had a good few cups of tea over there. Hello Mark, if you're watching. You don't see many of those around. So here we are, we crossed the bridge to the motorway again, and this is right at the point you'll recognise if you drive down here, where the M3 splits away from the M27, or vice versa actually. The M3 joins the M27, and the M27 splits away from the M3. There's a better view, look. That's when you come back from the West Country. M3, 2 lanes on the left, M27 straight on and behind me. So once you're over the bridge, you got 2 options. There is a footpath straight on, I think, somewhere. Well, it doesn't look it from there. But anyway, we're going right anyway, because we want to go and see Chilworth Tower. So that's the way to go, folks, right? Don't go wandering up someone's drive and then wondering why they've chased you with their dogs. So don't worry about the footpath to your right, just keep walking down the road and it'll get you where you want to be. That's nice. So what we're looking at here is a block of flats built in 2006. It's called Chilworth Heights. Now Chilworth Heights is on the site of the previous Chilworth Tower, which was a house built in 1854 which had a viewing tower for the artist Richard Cockle Lucas. Of course the house fell into disrepair and was demolished, and now it's a nice block of flats. But it must have been wonderful. There's a lovely view looking down over towards Toot Hill. So I should think up in that tower he had a lot of inspiration. So we leave the big houses and gardens now, and we head through this barrier here into the woods. And this is Lordswood. Very popular with the people in the Lordswood area of Southampton. Very much a working wood though, not such a community wood. I mean, Stoke Park Woods where I am is a community wood, so there's things put up for children to play on and bits and bobs, but this is very much a working wood. Some lovely majestic pines nonetheless. That's a bit incongruous in the middle of the woods. I suppose it must be for the forestry workers, but I wouldn't imagine with all these trees it get used that often. That's a lovely old tree. That's almost like a redwood, that one. In fact, it could be. Look at the trunk on that. Very popular with kids on bikes. You can see there's a lot of felling and clearing being done through here. Someone out enjoying a ride. Then we just carry straight on, not to the left like the horse. Well, this is a cracking bit of machinery. The chap doesn't want to speak on here, but he's told me what it's all about. It's called a forwarder, and on the back you can see a framework and a grabber, and what happens is another bit of machinery chops the trees down, they're laying on the woodland floor, and the forwarder picks them up with its grabber on the back there and takes them off to the wood piles. But yeah, formidable bit of machine there. So again, ignore the tracks that the forwarder's made and continue straight on. So at the end of that big long straight path through the woods, this is the bit that could get a bit confusing. You go past this tree stump, through these bollard things, and past the sign, and the tendency would be to go that way because you can see a way out, but you don't. You take this path to the left. All you've got to remember is that you're on a decent path that is keeping the woodland to your left, and you can just see as it skirts the houses to the right. And there's a bit of stitch wart, or granny's shirt buttons. So when you get to this little post here, you don't take the right hand way, you carry straight on along the bridleway. And this little stream is eventually what becomes Tanner's Brook. Runs up through Lordswood and Lords Hill and Shirley Warren and out to Millbrook. So here we are, it's the end of our woodland path, and we emerge out into civilization. Well, I say civilization, I do of course mean Lordswood. Sorry Lordswood residents. So you just walk straight down Coxford Road before we dip back into the sports centre again. And Coxford Road of course is the road that the hospital is in. Well, sort of on Coxford and Tremona Road. One for my overseas viewers, an Elizabeth II postbox. That's the collection times on there, so it's collected once a day, 9 AM Monday to Friday, or 7 AM on a Saturday. And you're looking out on the left for the entrance into the sports centre. And there it is on that blue sign, and the footpath is over to the left. And these mounds, they haven't got problems with moles. This is the latest addition to the sports centre. It does look a bit unsightly, but massive fun because it's a bike park for the kids, so they can bring their BMX bikes and things and leap around over these. Now people of a certain age like me, you'd remember when things like that were just sort of like natural things in the woods. And we used to call it dirt tracking, and it didn't matter whether you had a chopper or a shopper, you could go dirt tracking. But anyway, they've got special things to go bouncing up and down on now. Great memories coming up with my son. And my daughter was doing her athletics training during the summer. We used to bring a ball, have a game of football on these pitches, and in the winter we used to go in the pub, Coca-Cola and watch The Simpsons. yeah, great times. I remember Roger Merry. I used to play for Prellies. I used to come down here and play them. Anyway, back where we are at the attendance office again. And we just got to walk back up the hill and finish at the pub. So here we are, we're back at the view bar. We've done 5 miles, a big loop round. Great walk, enjoyed that a lot. You don't have to do the whole lot if you don't want to do a whole 5 miles. You can explore the sports centre, there's a little fair for the kids. I'm sure the boat and lake will have some water in it eventually as well. Or you can just go and explore Lordswood. But the whole walk is quite a nice easy 5 miles, not a lot in the way of hills. So if you enjoyed it, then please like and subscribe, and maybe I'll see you on the next one.